Even love does not always guarantee fidelity, and a loving person may cheat out of curiosity or revenge. But what difference does it make what the motives for this act are? Will it be easier for the partner to know that they were cheated on not out of great love? For me, it wasn't any easier. Until recently, my life could be confidently called happy. My beloved wife Linda, our already grown-up and clever daughter Tiffany, a cozy home, and my favorite job. Family life with Linda was calm and orderly, without cheap scandals. She trusted me in everything and never demanded anything excessive. For this, I always repaid her with my sincere love and fidelity. Linda was a good housekeeper. The house was always clean, and the fridge was always full. As a military man, I greatly valued home comfort and tranquility. At work, my wife was respected as a valuable employee. Every month, she had the maximum number of deals and contracts. Once, their company started working on a serious client. It was a very large network company headed by an imposing, but somewhat sharp and arrogant man in his 50s. For more than a month, my wife and her colleagues were giving presentation after presentation, and finally, the head of this company gave in and signed the cooperation agreement. He was a capricious man and very confident in himself. But Linda was persistent. As it turned out, it wasn't just her persistence that mattered. Just 2 weeks ago, I found out all the details of this deal from my wife herself. In short, on the day the contract was signed, representatives of both companies went to a restaurant to celebrate the start of their cooperation. They had dinner and started to leave. Linda was about to call a taxi, but that very head of the company, Donald, insisted on driving her home. At this point in the story, my wife became nervous. "Michael, I can't hide this anymore. This story was bound to come out eventually. It's better if it's today." I intuitively prepared for an unpleasant conversation, and Linda continued. When we drove up to the house, Donald said that he had taken so long to sign the contract because he enjoyed looking at me. I felt uncomfortable with his confession, and then he took my hand and said that he dreams of me and is ready to do anything to make me leave you for him. I apologized, pulled my hand away, and ran out of his car without looking back. I sighed with relief when I realized that my wife had rejected this Donald. "Thank you for telling me," I said soothingly and tried to take her hand, but she didn't let me. Linda stood up sharply and began pacing nervously around the room. "Wait, let me finish. You misunderstood everything. I was sure I would never give in to Donald's persuasions, but he won me over with his persistence and even arrogance." At this point, I became very nervous. My heart started pounding wildly and aching somewhere between my ribs. "In short, we had everything," Linda said. "Honestly, I don't understand why I got into all this," continued my wife, nervously pacing from corner to corner. "I don't love him at all. I'm not even sure if I like him. Besides, the intimacy with him was not at all what I imagined, not at all like what we have." At that moment, I began to get furious. "Linda, have you completely lost your mind? Wake up. You're discussing your lover with me and what he's like in bed." "Bill, I'm just trying to explain to you that it wasn't out of love." At some point, I lost control and my mind shut down. It was only once. But because of all this, I realized how much I love and value you. I'm very guilty, truly. Please forgive me if you can." After this monologue, she sat down in the chair and fell silent, as if waiting for my decision. In 27 years of married life, I had never suspected Linda of cheating. Not knowing what to say, I just looked and remembered all the brightest moments of our life: meeting, kissing, wedding, the birth of our daughter, and couldn't understand how all this could be traded for one night. Traded all this for some arrogant guy who doesn't value family values. He valued only his ego. That evening, I couldn't stay in the same house with her. Taking my coat, I slowly walked down the street and went into the first bar I came across. In the bar, I started drinking like a broken alcoholic. Then I stumbled out, called a taxi, and went to my sister's. My sister was surprised at my condition and early arrival. She let me into her house, put me to bed, and went to work with her husband. Left alone at home, I abandoned propriety and found alcohol in their kitchen. I started drinking straight from the bottle. At some point, I suddenly veered to the side and fell into the chair. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. My left hand suddenly stopped obeying me, my eyes darkened, and I lost consciousness. I woke up in the hospital. Linda and my sister were standing over me. I wanted to shout for Linda to get out, but I couldn't. My tongue didn't obey me. After my mumbling, my sister said I had had a stroke. There was nothing worse in my situation. My wife had cheated, and I became completely helpless. For 3 years, Linda took care of me and helped me go through the rehabilitation course. Despite all her pleas and help, I couldn't forgive her. I didn't fully recover, but when I could take care of myself, I immediately moved into a home for the disabled. I no longer communicate with Linda. My daughter often visits me. She couldn't forgive Linda either. They only talk about household matters.